Hey guys, before we get into this episode of the podcast, I just wanted to get some housekeeping out of the way, and I'm going to start doing this throughout the podcast because I think it's important to keep you guys updated on what's going on in the business, what's going on in everything, really. And I'm pretty sure, before you guys get on to me about the audio of the following episode of the podcast, I'm pretty sure looking at me recording this, that it recorded on my MacBook mic instead of my fucking fancy mic that I'm talking on now. So if it did, please just, I tried to speak up. But a couple little housekeeping things. Number one, if you ordered from the last launch with the Powerhouse Mentality apparel, your orders are, as we speak, being packaged up and shipped out. So you should receive that by next week, latest, hopefully by this weekend. But thank you again to everybody who has ordered. If you haven't ordered and you're like, wait, you have fucking apparel? Yeah, we fucking do. We have great apparel. We have dope apparel. And we're continuing to make it better and better because we want to make it the best apparel that we possibly can. And we want to hear feedback from the community and from the Powerhouse Mentality people to be able to make it even better. So the link is always down below to check out the apparel. We have a ton of stuff left in stock for you guys, so go ahead and check it out. Number two, and this one's a big one because Father's Day apparently is on Sunday and it's Thursday. And if you're like me, then you're like, oopsies, I forget about these little holidays. And then I always have to get this last minute gift. And I don't get Father's Day gifts because I don't have a father that I have a communication with. I mean, sometimes we talk, but it's just not a great relationship. But I do have a mother, and on Mother's Day, I always forget about it. And then all of a sudden it's Saturday before Mother's Day, and I'm on Edible Arrangements or flowers.com trying to get her an edible arrangement or flowers because she loves that shit, and it's easy because I always forget. Now, if you're like me and you always forget to get a gift on these holidays, I got you. So Just Meats is a company that I work with, and if you guys follow me on social media, you know Stone and I love Just Meats because it's pre-cooked, high quality, great variety of meat that is shipped straight to your door. And you get a pound in each tray, and it's so cost effective and so delicious. So for Father's Day, they're offering something different. Now, they're not giving you like a discount on your meats and stuff. What they are doing is giving you $50 off when you purchase a $150 gift card. So all you have to do, click on the link that's going to be down below. You can only do it using this link. If you go to the Just Meats website, you will not find this option. So use the link down below. I'll put it right there in the show notes for you guys and label it very clearly. And use the code, which I will also put down below, Caitlin4, DAD. And you'll get $50 off of a $150 gift card. The gift card does not expire, and this offer is going to be good through Father's Day. So it's the 13th right now. You have 4 days to take advantage of this. Go ahead and do it, whether it be for your father, for somebody you love in your life, or if you're doing it selfishly for yourself. I went ahead too and also put together a cart to see kind of how much meat you could get for $150, and you can get 17 pounds of meat. That's a lot of fucking meat, and we throw it in the freezer. It stays good for at least 4 to 6 months. So go ahead, get yourself some meat, get your friends, family members, fathers some meat, because nothing is better than the gift of protein, especially when it's high quality, tasty protein. That makes things so much more convenient. Now, sit back, relax, guys. Enjoy this episode of the podcast where I'm going to talk all about what to do when you feel like you have nothing left to give. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith, and on today's episode of the podcast, guys, about what to do when it feels like you have nothing left to give. And there's a reason why I wanted to talk about this topic today. And a lot of the times when I pick a topic and I write it down, I start expanding upon it, and I, take my pen to a piece of paper and I do it old school, and I just write out my thoughts. A lot of it either comes from client conversations that I've had with my husband, or just experiences that I'm going through, or things that I've thought about from my past. Now, one of the biggest things that I like to say on this podcast is that your past does not define you. And your past can either do one of two things. It can become your prison, or it can become your power. And that's up to you, based on the choices and decisions that you make on a daily basis and how you view your past and how you respond to what has happened, because life is going to throw things at us that maybe we're not going to necessarily always expect. In fact, most of the time when life throws us shit, we have no idea, one, how to handle it, and two, how the hell we even got here. Have you ever had that happen to you where you're in a position and things are really fucking heavy and life is really challenging and you're just like, I don't know if I can get through this. I don't know if I have more to give. I feel like I'm completely tapped out of energy, of focus, of hope. And you're going to find yourself in that position. You will. It is an inevitable part of life that you will struggle and you will go through challenges that you didn't expect. Which is why I believe that it's so important to seek discomfort on a daily basis, because when you can seek discomfort and get your body used to and acclimated to being in an uncomfortable position on a daily basis, then when you're faced with these horrific challenges, you're going to be stronger and more resilient to be able to face them and overcome them. But with that being said, it still doesn't make it easier. You're just stronger. And for those of you who haven't been through a lot in your life, you might not understand what I'm talking about. But for those of you who have been through a lot, which I feel like most people have been through a lot, you get to learn from those struggles, from those experiences, and you get to continue forward because you're undefeated on all of your most challenging days. And that's how you should be looking at it. Because there are going to be times that you're going to face in the future where your back's up against the wall and the pressure is high and you feel like your tank is empty. Now, two things I want to remind you right off the bat there. Because in the moment, you're not going to think about this. But I want to remind you now so that maybe it lingers in your brain. No matter how tired you are, no matter how physically and emotionally exhausted you are, you always have more. You always have another level. You always have extra energy and extra focus and reserves. Sometimes it just takes a lot to find that. And that's why the first thing I want to focus on here is perspective, because perspective truly does drive performance. Not just physical performance, if you're an athlete, but also mental performance. Being able to get through tough, difficult times in your life. And being able to show up as your best self, even when you don't feel like you're your best self. But you know that you have an obligation to whatever you do in your life, that it's time to show up. For example, if you're a parent and you wake up and you know what? It's just not your day. Like you wake up and you're frustrated with work, you're frustrated with home life, you're just frustrated. And all you want to do is just lay in bed all day. But you have an obligation, a responsibility to get up and take care of your children. So you find that extra energy, you find that another level, and you find that reserve because you have such a strong, powerful purpose to get up and take care of your children because they need you. The same thing goes for people who maybe you don't have kids, but you have a fulfilling job. You have a responsibility, you have a duty to take care of your employees, to take care of your clients, to take care of whatever you take care of. We all have a purpose that we wake up to every single day. Some people may struggle to find that true, meaningful purpose, but we all have things that we do on a daily basis that we're responsible for. Whether it be even just ourselves and our well-being, we all have a responsibility. So when you look at that level of fatigue and exhaustion and you think to yourself, I have nothing left to give, pull out that purpose, pull out that responsibility, pull out those obligations, and remind yourself that with a strong enough purpose and a strong enough passion and a strong enough why, you will find that extra energy. Because if you didn't have anything left to give, then frankly, you'd be dead. And you're not. You're still kicking. And you should take every opportunity to make the most of the day that you've been given, because life truly is a gift. And there are going to be some days in life where you wake up and you feel like you're wasting that gift because you're just so damn done. And I get it. I'm totally there. I've been there. And you know what? Today is one of those days where I'm there. And that's why I'm recording this episode, because frankly, I'm at the point where I feel like I have nothing left to give. And I'll give you a little bit of context, and there's a lot of just different things, like I have a lot of stuff that's on my plate currently, and I always feel like I'm never doing enough, and I feel like that's just something that I'm always going to struggle with, and I feel like a lot of you probably struggle with it as well. A lot of people who are trying to pursue more in life always struggle with, am I doing enough, or am I doing the right things? And we're always questioning ourselves, but from somebody who's built something, right? A podcast, a business, coaching, my level of training, I want to tell you that it's going to take much longer than you think it's going to take. It's going to take much longer than you want it to take to do the things that you want to do. But also there's going to be a lot of days where you think you're doing everything fucking wrong, but you have to just keep going. It's important to evaluate, right? To evaluate, okay, is this working? Is that not working? And kind of take inventory on what path you're going on and if it's still the correct path. But it's also important to be honest with yourself and say, look, this takes time. I need to be aggressively patient, and I need to keep in the fight. Because when times get tough, and when you feel like you have nothing left to give, it becomes really easy for most people to just say, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out. I'm going to go onto the sidelines of my life, and I'm going to sit the game out. But that's not how you win the game, right? That's not how you fucking win the game of life. You don't win the game by sitting on the bench. You don't win the game by sitting on the sidelines. Nobody wants to be a bench warmer. Why would you want to be a bench warmer in your own life? Go out there and just keep in the fight. Keep in the fight. Even if that means that, if this was like a basketball game and we're not sitting on the bench and we're in there and we're fighting for the win. Even if we're missing every fucking shot, we're missing every layup, we're not getting any rebounds. We keep turning the ball over. It doesn't matter. Just stay in the fucking fight because things can change at the snap of a finger. You hit one 3-pointer, the momentum changes. Everything changes. Momentum is so important. And that's why it's so important to keep in the fight. Because if you keep starting and stopping when things get tough, you're never going to be able to gain the momentum. All right? If a train is trying to run through a brick wall for some fucking reason, I don't know why the train wants to run through the brick wall. Just listen to my analogy. If the train is trying to run through the brick wall and it keeps starting and stopping and starting and stopping, it's not going to be able to gain enough momentum to actually be able to have the strength, the power, the speed to break through that brick wall. But if you do it on the flip side, where the train is, even if it's not going as fast, if it's still continuously moving, it's going to gain enough power and momentum to be able to crash through the brick wall. The brick wall is an analogy for the obstacles that you're going to face in your life. Sometimes that brick wall is going to fall right on top of you, and you're going to struggle to get up, and that's okay. It's so easy to lose control and to break down when things get really fucking hard. But there's also nothing wrong with that. But don't get stuck there, because that's where most people get stuck. They hit an obstacle, they fall down, and instead of getting back up, or taking a moment to breathe and then get back up, they just don't get back up, and they start crying and whining and blaming other things and other people for why they're on the floor. Instead of just saying, you know what, that hurt, I'm going to cry about it for a moment, but I'm also not going to stay down. Those who are most successful aren't those who never get knocked down. It's those who get knocked down the most, but get up the fastest. Even if they lay there for a moment. Because that's okay. You're allowed to be human. You're human. You're not perfect. You have weakness, and that's okay. So long as you don't let that weakness define you. So your perspective drives your performance. If you have a positive perspective in life, you are more likely to accomplish the things that you want. If you wake up every morning with a negative perspective towards life, you are more likely to have negative shit happen to you. You attract what you put out. I'm a true believer in that because I've seen it so many times for myself. If I wake up and I say, you know what, today's going to be a fucking great day, I guarantee you that it's going to be a fucking great day. Because even if little challenging moments happen during that day, which they probably do because that's just life, I'm going to have a more powerful perspective towards it where I see them as just little hurdles. Like, okay, no problems, only solutions. How can we overcome this? What can we do? Instead of, oh, well, I knew today was going to be a shitty day. Look at this. This is happening. This is happening. And then you just shut down. And instead of having a solution-oriented mindset, you're just looking at everything as a problem. And when you look at everything as a problem, you're less likely to actually take action to solve the problem. So one of the things that I say most often, not just to myself, but to literally everyone, whether you're a client, a friend, a family member, you've probably heard me say this multiple times: no problems, only solutions. And I actually had a client who sewed a little thing for me that I have hanging up here in my podcast studio that says no problems, only solutions, because that's how often I fucking say it. And you know what? It's powerful. Because there is a solution for everything in life. There is. Some things you have to really, really dig deep to find that solution. I get it. But there is always a solution. And when you say, okay, no problems, only solutions, slow down, take a deep breath, then move, then respond, you're going to be more likely to be successful in overcoming the obstacle. When most people, they don't take the time to say no problems, only solutions, slow down, breathe, then move. They just move and they fucking react instead of taking the time to actually respond. And when you just continue to react to things in life, what happens is you do things that maybe you weren't in the right headspace at the time, and you usually fuck shit up. How many times have you had an emotional moment with your spouse or significant other when you guys are having a fight, or, tension just gets a little bit high, and you say something that you know you shouldn't have said, but now you said it and there's no going back? That's why whenever I'm texting somebody, it's always my mom. Sorry, Mom. I know she doesn't even listen to my fucking podcast anyway, so you know what? I'm just gonna roll with it. Every time I text my mom, sometimes we get a little bit heated because I'm a very direct person and my mom's a very negative person, so we kind of can clash heads sometimes. I love my mom to death. However, we clash heads sometimes because she's very negative and I'm trying to help her out of it, but sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. Now, the point of me bringing this up is there are a lot of times where we're texting each other and I type something out in the heat of the moment and I hit send and I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have sent that. That was not right. I shouldn't have sent that. However, what I've started doing is I will type something out, put my phone down, continue doing whatever I was doing, come back to that text message 30 seconds or even 60 seconds later, and say, probably not going to send that, erase, let me write something different. Because when you can take the moment to process your emotions, you actually have a better response to the scenario, as opposed to if you were just in an emotionally high moment and you just react. Don't put yourself in that situation. When something happens, no problems, only solutions, slow down, take a deep breath, then move. One more time. No problems, only solutions. Slow down, take a deep breath, then move. All right? Like I said, most people get stuck here. They get stuck right here because they have a piss poor perspective towards life, because it's easy to lean on the negative side of things when things are hard. I know it because I've been there so many times. There's one moment that I will never forget when I was recovering from my eating disorder. It was the second day that I was on this recovery journey after my mom and dad had brought me to an eating disorder outpatient program where I had my holy fuck moment, or my enough is enough moment, which I've spoken about on the podcast before, where my mom and my dad took me to this outpatient eating disorder program and they had me weigh myself. And I was 89 pounds. I'm 5'6.5". And the last time I had weighed myself prior to that was maybe 2 months before. And I was like 115. So I was like, wow, I lost control. And that was that moment for me where I was like, okay, this isn't funny anymore. This is like literal life or death. Like, it's kind of like when I woke up and I started seeing the reality around me instead of just being in this bubble, which is kind of how I thought, how I felt. I felt like the entire time I had an eating disorder, I was almost just like watching myself from like above, if that makes sense. And a lot of the things that happened during that time I truly don't remember. One, probably because I'm repressing it, because it was a very emotionally traumatizing time in my life, but also because I was so nutrient deprived that it's been shown that when somebody is starving themselves for a long period of time with an eating disorder, they can kill brain cells because of the lack of nutrition. So that might have happened, and I probably killed a couple brain cells here and there, but that just makes sense. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because 2 days later, I was told I wasn't allowed to work out, which I was working out like 3-4 hours a day, just high intensity cardio. So to go from doing that to being told you can't do anything, like even going on a walk was frowned upon, because I just needed to eat. And I was in such a desperate situation with my health that I needed to increase my calories tremendously and completely lower my activity. I don't agree with that. I really don't. I truly don't. If I was in as bad of a place as they said that I was nutritionally, they would have admitted me into the hospital, hooked me up to an IV or a feeding tube, and that would have been that. But they didn't. So there's a lot that goes into the eating disorder clinics that I've been to that I really don't like. And I really feel like maybe this is just me talking and having ideas on the podcast. I feel like I want to do something different. Like I want to be able to impact girls who are in that position and show them that there's so much more to life. And I feel like a lot of eating disorder clinics, they just fucking feed you and they don't do anything to fix the problem. Because it's not a problem. Like I know I need to eat, right? I knew I needed to eat, but that wasn't like I was afraid to eat. Like I was so afraid that something bad would happen. And I think that there's such a better way to do that. And 2 days after it, I was sitting, like I said, I wasn't able to work out. I was on this new meal plan, which they were stuffing me full of calories. They were telling me to eat all these different like processed foods, eat a muffin, eat all this shit. And I was in my bedroom at the time. Me and my mom shared a bedroom. We lived on the 3rd floor of my grandma's house at the time. Not ideal, especially when you're in that kind of a situation, because it was a very small 3rd floor apartment. And I remember just staring out the window, just crying, because I wanted to be outside. I wanted to go on a run. I just wanted to have my life back because I felt like I had lost everything. And in that moment, I really thought that I had nothing left to give. Like, I was at the point where I was like, what's the point? And that's where most people get stuck. But I made a decision that I wasn't going to stay here. Because no matter how scared I was and how much it hurt me to move forward from this point, I knew that I had to, because if I didn't, I would always regret and wonder what if. And honestly, if I didn't make the choice to move forward in that moment, I might not be here today. There's something about getting really close to death, self-inflicted death like that, multiple times, and being able to live to realize that, hey, maybe there is a bigger purpose that I have in this world. So don't get stuck. When it feels like you have nothing left to give, don't get stuck. It's your choice on what is the story that you're going to tell yourself. The second thing that I want to focus on today is how important it is to be you. No one else. Be unique. Be who you are. I see way too many people waste their life trying to please other people, and I did that for so fucking long. Let me tell you. The best part about getting older is that the older you get, the less you fucking care. It's true. Like, the less fucks you give. And I coach a lot of people, and one of the biggest overwhelming factors that is common is that they are all people pleasers. And they all want to please everybody else, but then they forget to please themselves. They forget to do things for them. And now all of a sudden they're trying to pour from an empty cup and they have nothing left to give. Now, conformity is the biggest form of cowardness. So if you're conforming to everybody else's ideas and views because you are too afraid to be yourself and be unique, because you're afraid of judgment, or you're afraid that you won't be successful, or you're afraid that you're not pleasing the people that you think that you're meant to please, stop doing that. Stop trying to be part of the group. It's your life. Be unique, be who you are, and understand that courage isn't the absence of fear. You're going to be afraid. Courage is taking action in the presence of fear. So no matter what, no matter how afraid you are, no matter how uncomfortable you are, be you, nobody else. And the last thing, guys, and this is the most important step, because this is how you move forward, is you take it not one day at a time, but literally one step at a time, one choice at a time, one decision at a time. Because when you look at a week, or you even look at a day, sometimes it can be overwhelming to be like, I can't make it through this week. I can't make it through this day. Number one, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Number two, cool. Focus on what's right in front of you and nothing else. I use this tactic a lot when I'm training. So if I have a 10-round workout and I do the first round and I'm like, well, shit, this is going to be really challenging. I don't know if I can do this. I can always do one round. So I just start getting into this zone where I'm like, one more. Then all of a sudden I'm like tallying these off. I'm like, okay, 8 rounds in, we got 2 more, 1 more. And then you're done. And you made it. And you made it through the day. You made it through the week. You accomplished something. Celebrate your little wins. No matter how small a win might seem, confidence is simply the memory of winning. And in order for you to have the memory of winning, you actually have to recognize your wins and start stacking wins. Okay, so keep stacking wins, keep moving forward, take things one step at a time, have a positive perspective, because positive perspective drives performance. No problems, only solutions, and be you. Nobody else. You got one life, and you're the only one who gets to live it. So fucking live it instead of just existing in it. Now go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.